Sir, I need to know where I can get some business hammocks.
Hammocks? My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Hammocks!
Hello, and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 297. It is the last day of the week, aka the Big Bang Attack workout. I am feeling pretty good right now. I'm very excited for this workout. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today, being a positive force in someone's life. So the main reason why I wanted to talk about this was because I believe it was in this episode right here where I was talking about letting the right one in. I also discussed those types of people that are making sure that you let the good people in, right, into your life, and making sure that they are a positive force. But then that most of the time, if you're surrounding yourself with a negative force in your life, they might be bringing you down. But now this episode is about you yourself being a positive force in somebody's life, because sometimes you can be the one that could cause the change in order for it to be good. Obviously, this is a very difficult thing and not necessarily something that everybody wants to do, but can be possible. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And also, is it worth it? That's another thing that we're going to be talking about. What is it? In today's episode, it's going to be mostly about that type of stuff, because this is the type of stuff that interests me. And also, I would like to try to believe that I am a positive force in somebody else's life, some way or another. So that is why I wanted to discuss this. It is something that is a little complicated, obviously. It takes a lot of willpower, determination, a little bit of patience, and then a few other things as well. But it is something that can be done. But should it be done? But hopefully we can find a good formula to make sure that you can figure it out on your own and see if it's worth it or not. But with that being said, I will see you in Mother Base.
All right, so started this day off with a single arm lat pull down, which was pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand, being a positive force in someone's life. So the main reason why I wanted to talk about this is because of the previous episode, like I said, where I talked about letting the right people in. And I think that when looking at it in that sense, what do you want to make sure of as you as a person? What should you do in somebody else's life to make sure that you're a positive force, basically? One of the things is that I look at personally is being truthful with people, which is a hard thing to do, because realistically there are going to be some parts where they don't want to hear it, and you have to balance out the truth with some level of comfort. There is certain things that, yes, you can't really be 100% honest about, because there are certain levels of feelings, but also at the same time, if you are their friend, you should be honest with them from the beginning, and thus you don't have to worry about saying weird things. As well as if the friendship runs deep and or relationship runs deep, you can be yourself around these people. So then if you are telling the truth or being whatever you're saying, and you're not necessarily quote unquote a hater, you're more than likely going to be all right in their aspect and in their books, really, because they know you and they know that you're coming from a place of love and not from a place of hate. And I think that's one of the big things, is when you're being a positive force in somebody else's life, as long as you're coming from a place of love where you are trying to make sure that these people you're looking out for the best for them and their future and something along those lines, it's something that will make it so it's a positive effect. And you would hope that they would do the same for you. If they really are whatever partner, friendship, whatever that they should be, they would be doing this for you as well, being the person that's there to help you out. Now, the question is it worth being a positive influence on other people in your life? And I do think it is worth it, but I also think that it is worth it to a point. I think that it is worth it in the sense that these are the people that you have established in your life that you are going to be close with for a long time, possibly ever in your life. But then there are other people that it isn't worth it for certain people, where they are a net negative in your life, where they are bringing you down, where being a positive force is only swallowed up by the vacuum that is their life. And it sucks saying something like that, but sometimes you kind of have to let those types of people go. But you can attempt to be a positive force in their life if you get the chance to, but sometimes they don't even give you the chance to be the positive force, because they are so gravitationally downward that they end up causing basically a blackening out of your positive traits. From my experience personally, I think I've been a positive force on certain people or another, not necessarily all the time, because sometimes I can be a little bit just neutral on things. I don't like being a yes man, but I am one to look at all sides of certain aspects of it, of certain scenarios, to make sure that everything kind of works out, rather than sitting there and only looking at one side of the thing, one side of the coin. I think it's always good to attack certain aspects from a third person viewpoint to make sure that things are going in a smoother direction, rather than just, hey, let's go blast some roids. I always have to tell my friend Jose that, brother, we're not doing one cycle. You know what I mean? Like, calm down, okay? I love that guy, but that's always a joke. Of course, it's a joke now, but it's always something that he always goes like, so when are we joining the dark side? And I'm like, brother, we ain't joining shit, all right? But then that is a friend that I will forever have, and it's not only just him, but it's others as well, where I would like to try to believe that whether it be good or bad, being there is half the battle, but also being there with an open, I wouldn't say open mind, but your personality, and willing to conflict with the person if you see them doing something that is not necessarily conducive to either their health or their future, is a tough balancing act. But it is a balancing act that I think a lot of people can end up doing. It's just a little hard and takes a lot of effort, but also you got to understand that if these people are truly your friend, they will understand where you're coming from, and hopefully they will do the same for you as well. And that's what makes a good friend or a positive force in someone's life, really. If you are not being the balanced act, or being very one-sided, or being very much a either hater or a yes man, you are not doing anything positive for them in the end, because you are just hearing what they want to hear. And those are the types of people that you have to be careful of. But I've already spoken about that. I think that it's always a worthwhile endeavor to be positive, or a positive force in others' lives, up to a point. Once they get to the point where you cannot help them, it is more of a positive force in their life for you to leave and be a positive force in your own life, because sometimes they can see what's happening around you because of social media and everything, and maybe it'll help them reflect and realize, oh, this person didn't want me around because I was the void. But then again, that might not happen, and then something else has to happen to them, like I talk about in this episode, learning the hard way.
You won't be winning at all. What, clown? Are you feeling angry, humiliated? Is that it? Fool!
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. Anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. Being a force of good in someone's life. So sometimes there are circumstances in which case you are kind of forced into being circumstantially close to someone, whether it be a neighbor, a coworker, or something along those lines. And that is one of those times where being a force of good would probably do you better than being a force of evil, obviously. But I think that that is one of those circumstances that could come up that people could possibly need someone that is a force of good in their life, just so you kind of have to deal with that person multiple times in a day or whatever, and thus you are in a good relationship or in a good standing with them. But obviously you don't have to become friends with them necessarily to even just become a good person in their life, really. All you have to do is just do what is good, and that is a little bit of a hard thing to kind of grasp at the end of the day, because I don't want to get into moral relativism and how it's basically wrong, but I want to get into that because that's a whole other subject for a whole other day. But I think generally speaking, we can understand what a good person or a good entity or a good persona in somebody else's, or a good force in somebody else's life would be, generally speaking. It's not necessarily being like, oh, let's go get drunk every weekend, or, oh, let's go smoke so much weed that we forget our names, like things like that, of course, are not necessarily that great. Maybe if you're 20 and have nothing else to do, but even then, you could be doing something way more and better with your time time. So it is something to think about. But it is a good thing to be a pillar, I guess, in your society, because at the end of the day, you would want to be good. Obviously, there are things that you kind of have to do in order to take care of that, aka take care of yourself and a few other things. That's a whole other story for a whole other day. But being a positive force in someone's life isn't necessarily that challenging. It is just basically holding accountability and being honest with the person, with a little bit of caveat here and there. But realistically, it boils down to those two things, plus just a little bit of a sprinkling of humor and a few other things like that, but just humility as well. But things like that, oh, patience. All these things just kind of meld together to become a person of good that you can be in a person's life, especially if they're a friend. You don't want to become the friend that just says yes to everything. That is the one thing that you want to be careful about, because if you are that friend, you have to understand that you are probably doing more harm to the person than any good, because at the end of the day, they need somebody to be honest with them. And honesty is hard, but I'd rather hear the honesty from somebody that I care about rather than somebody that I don't even know. And usually they're worse than honest. So, but that's a kind of a whole other story as well. But mostly you want to be a good in someone's life, which comes with the bad. It's not necessarily always going to be sunshine and rainbows. You can never really be that. And if you are that, you got to look at something, because that's a little bit of a too much of one. It's too much sugar, basically. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. I would love talking about these types of things. It's very interesting to me. But anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!